Dear Overwatch players, you've had a rough past couple years. First off, Overwatch 2 was announced at BlizzCon, and it looked incredible. You had this brand new PvE mode with talent trees, customization, missions that were high in replay value. 5v5 was going to change the game and fix the awful 6v6 metas. And then there was nothing. You had to sit there playing the same game over and over, every stale meta after stale meta, while people sat in the background calling your game dead over and over again. And then there was finally some light. Overwatch 2 officially released, and everyone was excited. Oh sure, the release of it was a bit underwhelming, and there wasn't actually PvE yet, but oh, that'll come next year guys, we're still working on it, it's a really big undertaking. And here we are, PvE has been cancelled. Overwatch players can't stop taking L's, but I am here with a solution, an alternative. A fresh new take on the hero shooter genre. I am, of course, talking about Paladins. Now first off, if you're an Overwatch player, you've probably seen some Paladins gameplay, and on the surface, I'm sure all of you are thinking that it looks exactly like Overwatch, but actually, a lot of Paladins' uniqueness comes from outside of the game with loadouts. Now what is a loadout? Every single character in the entire game comes with their own set of cards, 20 to be exact, each one containing a buff to a certain ability that the character has. This can be anything from healing you on use, or even just giving you more health. Out of 20 cards, you can use 5 in one loadout, and each card can be leveled up through 1 to 5, but you can only use 15 total levels in your loadouts. This system is the thing that makes Paladins stand out. Every single character, like games like Team Fortress 2, pretty much has an entirely different playstyle that you can use just by changing the cards. For example, Skye. On the surface, an extremely boring character, but you can use the loadout system to pretty much give her an entirely new playstyle. That is of a healer. And yes, I know a lot of Overwatch players are going to recoil in shock that I said healer instead of support, but in Paladins, they're called healers. I'm sorry, that's what they're called. This is a different game, and you need to learn to adapt. Now, Skye has an ability called Smoke Bomb. It's an AoE, and when she goes in it, she becomes invisible. But with your loadout, you can equip a card that heals her while she is in it. And you can also equip a card that straight up lowers its cooldown. Combining these cards gives Skye, who is a flank character by the way, a surprisingly high healing output. Nothing too competitive, but you would be surprised how effective it can be. Combining this loadout with a talent that makes it so all the effects of Smoke Bomb are applied onto her teammates, and she can pretty much just throw her Smoke Bomb on a teammate to heal them for a surprisingly high amount. This just completely flips a flank character who is poorly designed, kind of on her head, and just makes her into a mediocre support, which Overwatch, I can say with certainty, could never ever do with any of their characters. Sure, you can play like aggressive Lucio, but you can't physically change the statistics of your character to complement your playstyle. That is one thing that makes Paladins extremely different. But one thing I did mention is talents. Paladins has 3 ways of customizing each character. You have loadouts, you have talents, and you have the item shop, which I'll get to in a bit. It's really cool. Every single character has 3 talents, and while cards pretty much just do like minor stat buffs and stuff like that, talents are really the start of the transformative ability changes. For example, Androxus has an ability where he can use it and dash 3 times. It's one ability that contains 3 dashes, but when you equip this talent, that ability suddenly turns into 3 separate dashes, all on different cooldowns, making it much more versatile. Now, not all talents are created equal, but they are substantial enough to picking different ones can severely change how you play a specific character. Okay, so you can customize these characters and change how they play, but all the Paladins characters, they're just bloody Overwatch clones, right? Paladins came out like a few months after Overwatch. All the characters are just rip-offs of Overwatch characters, and you couldn't be further from the truth. While yes, Paladins does have quite a lot of Overwatch copies. For example, Fernando is Reinhardt, Charlene is Hanzo, etc. The characters that stand out from that are probably some of the most unique character designs I've seen in any hero shooter. I want to give you one example. This is the most unique character in all of Paladins. Yagarath. She kind of like how Bastion used to work, where you toggle between modes of staying planted or standing up and moving around. But the difference is Yagarath can't shoot while moving, so she has to be planted to deal damage. Now you might look at this and say, oh, surely the meta is to just sit on the point, right? Since you can only do damage while being planted. Well, no, that is actually how you die. Yagarath is a tank, so while she does have a lot of health, she has a massive, just enormous hitbox. So just staying planted in one spot all the time is an easy way to get her killed. Instead, she plays more of a flank. While she's in rolling form, she has an ability that buffs her movement speed, but also makes it so she does damage when she runs into enemies. So the strat is to run into the backline, do some damage with that, and get planted and use her AoE primary fire to do as much damage as possible. That is a massive oversimplification. She is a lot more complicated than that, but it just goes to show how Paladins' character design really lends itself to just being different. Next up, I want to talk about the item shop, the third way of customizing your character in Paladins. Now, as I have shown you, Paladins does have a ton of customization. So surely the strat would be to lean in hard on one type of strength, build up your deck to complement that one strength, and just hard spam it. But that is where the item shop comes in. The item shop is the glue of Paladins' balance. Say, for example, you want to play CC. You build up a bunch of characters that have hard CC and a lot of it, and you play them together. Well, in Paladins, that is how you lose. In the item shop, you can buy items that give you buffs or counter enemy debuffs. For example, if you were to hard stack CC characters, then you could just hard buy tier 3 resilience, which at max level reduces the length of CC by 75%. Now, all that effort you put into maximizing your crowd control is pretty much turned to dust, and you have no more strengths, and your team is just rolled by the other guys who have a more varied roster. As a matter of fact, the strat in Paladins is to have a varied team comp, so your comp cannot be countered by one specific type of item, which is just perfect from a gameplay standpoint. The systems in Paladins force variety. If Paladins were to have a double shield meta, it just wouldn't, because you'd buy Wrecker and shields go bye-bye. That is a massive strength of Paladins. It forces variety to its very core. And that's why I love it. Next up, I want to talk about cosmetics. Whenever people outside of the Overwatch community see the Overwatch community beg for loot boxes back, they might look at you pretty awkwardly. And Paladins does actually have loot boxes, but unfortunately, it's really not the Overwatch kind. Because Overwatch 1 was paid, it was more acceptable to give out a lot more free cosmetics, but Paladins came out as a free-to-play game, so the skins are a lot more heavily monetized. Paladins has a lot of kinds of loot boxes, and you can buy them with their currency called crystals. And then you open them, and you get the chance to get a skin. But it's not like CSGO cases, where there's certain rarities, and different rarities have a different chance of dropping. Loot boxes in Paladins are a long list of items, and every single item has the same chance of dropping. But Paladins gets around this by having a few good stuff and a whole lot of complete crap. But the skins themselves, oh boy, the skins themselves. Imagine if every single skin, purple and above, was better than an Overwatch 2 Mythic skin. Seriously, Paladins' skins make Overwatch 2 Mythics look like crap. Every single one has a completely different voice pack. And I'm not talking altered voice lines and some slightly adjusted VFX. I'm talking completely custom VFX, different from default, and entirely different voice actors for individual skins. It's actually insane, the quality that Paladin skins receive.
It's okay to stare. I know I am a lot to take in.
Your soul is mine. No, please keep your shoes on. I meant your soul is in your spirit. Why does everyone do this? Oh, no one respects the undead anymore.
One example of this is gold skins. In Overwatch, gold skins are a gold texture on your gun. Wow, isn't that cool? In Paladins, they are entire skins. Just entire skins, and they're not just a gold texture, they have been tailored for every single character. And while they are just recolors, they're not different models or anything, they are entirely custom for every single character. And they even have their own weapons, and the golden weapons even have their own VFX, different from standard. Now, Paladins is a very complex game. There's quite a lot of details that you wouldn't notice just looking at it from the outside. So here are some quick-fire tips on things you might not have known. At the bottom of the scoreboard on each game, you might notice this red bar that says % healing. This is cauterized. This used to be an item in the item shop, but it was removed and added as an official mechanic because it was pretty much a must-buy and everyone was buying it. The percentage you see on the bar indicates the percentage of healing that is reduced 2.5 seconds after an enemy takes damage. That means if you hit an enemy 2.5 seconds after they are hit, any incoming healing they received will be reduced by the percentage on the scoreboard. Number 2, all heroes have out of combat healing. After a certain amount of time, which you can see is indicated by a bar under your health bar, you will start to regenerate health passively. This is great because there's no role locks in Paladins, so having a support character is usually not guaranteed. Number 3, some cards have internal cooldowns. This is marked by a little stopwatch and a second timer underneath that card. That means every time that card triggers, there is a cooldown until it will be triggered again. This isn't for all cards, but it is for some of them. And number 4, there is a limit on how high you can get your stats. For example, speed has a hard cap, but at some point you will get diminishing returns because there is a hard limit for maximum speed, and you won't get the buffs you wanted from all those cards. Now, of course, there are some cons. Paladins has been on decline pretty much since it came out, and that's for a few reasons that I want to list here. First off, polish. If you're going into Paladins from Overwatch, prepare to encounter some bugs. While Overwatch is on Blizzard's proprietary nice and polished engine, Paladins is an Unreal Engine 3, so it has had many long-standing issues that haven't been fixed for years. Now, I know I talked about PvE being missing in Overwatch, but Paladins doesn't really have it either. In fact, content has been on a decline for years. The latest content update pretty much had skins and nothing else. The big new content feature in the last update, Midnight Masquerade, was ranked crossplay, because ranked was dying. Next up, ranked. I have never played a ranked match in Paladins, and I have absolutely no intention of doing so. Ranked and casual pretty much have no difference, except ranked has a pick and ban phase, which is a positive, but I don't want to wait 5 minutes through a queue and a pick and ban phase and loading times just to play a standard match of Siege with some extra stakes. I think I'm going to stay away from ranked in Paladins. Another con is game modes. There is pretty much only one main standard game mode, and that is Siege. They did bring back Payload from way back when, but it doesn't have overtime, so I don't play it. Seriously, they gotta add overtime to Payload. It sucks without it. It's actually just awful without it. Siege is actually very good though. It's kind of like hybrid from Overwatch, where you cap a point and push a payload, but instead of being attack defend where teams take turns, the objective is King of the Hill base, so the map is symmetrical and the payload is pushed back down between lanes. It's actually a pretty good game mode and it does feel incredibly dynamic, but it is the only competitive game mode. This video wasn't meant to be, oh, here is a solution to Overwatch PvE. This is mainly just a video for people who enjoy Overwatch PvP or are thinking it's a bit stale and are looking for something new. Paladins' customization systems allow it to have incredible variety and for games to feel incredibly different. A feeling which I never really felt like I got from Overwatch. Even when people were picking a wide variety of characters, Paladins' variety is at its core, and I feel like it really helps the game. Anyways, guys, that's gonna be it for today's video. I hope you did enjoy. Leave a like if you liked it, leave a dislike if you disliked it, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and thanks for watching. Tap out. Peace. That was a 30-minute recording. It just hit 30 minutes. We better get started.